What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. I talk about everything from sports cards to NFTs to random things of life, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and like and comment on this video. In today's episode, we're going to talk about F1 and specifically F1 sports cards and why I like them so much right now. So let's get started. The first reason why I like F1 sports cards is because of its rarity. It's rare. And what I mean by that is, aside from the, sports and some of the fandom around it, collecting F1 sports cards is definitely not in the major league. I would consider it in a minor league, meaning by volume of cards out there to collect, and of course the volume of collectors out there looking for F1 cards. So just the sheer fact of how rare, meeting a fellow F1 collector can be. Not so much anymore, but if you're not on social media, you probably are not gonna find a local collector at a show who also collects F1. It's highly unlikely, so it's still so rare that we always want to chase that one of one because it's rare, or that parallel, that red parallel, or that black parallel because of its rarity. And I think that's in all of us. The collector's DNA is what I would call, to look for something that's rare. And of course you can't just collect F1 just because of its rarity. You obviously either have been a fan of F1 or specific racers along the way, or you like automotive sports, whatever it may be. You do need a little bit more than just an attraction to rare stuff, but that's sort of like the core of our DNA as collectors, is that when something is rare, you're naturally attracted to it, right? So that's the first reason. And the second reason why I really like F1 sports cards right now is the release from Topps in 2020. So historically, we know that there are other vintage F1 cards that you can collect, and I can maybe make another episode about that. But this major brand, I mean, it won't be major maybe in 5 years, but it still is major right now. Topps kind of took the gamble and produced and manufactured Topps products, starting with Topps Dynasty in 2020, and then Topps Chrome, and then Topps Chrome Sapphire, kind of similar to their baseball lines. While again, these are not the first times that a sports card was produced for F1 racers, it certainly is sort of like a big presence by a big manufacturer printing these really shiny cardboards. So because of that, there's just a rush of attention in a sense from people who really like Topps products, right? And not only that, imagine you put yourself in the shoes of Topps and Topps executives. Would you create a lot of these cards right now in your first year of printing a brand new sport? Or would you kind of want to test out the market first, so you are a little bit more conservative in how much you print? I mean, we don't have the numbers, obviously, but from a lot of the conversations and guesses that we have in the F1 community, our take is that the print run of this set from 2020 is extremely low. And what that means is that, what you see in, other markets where we've seen an incredible increase of prices and demand, but they suddenly drop, I don't think that will happen as dramatically in F1, because most of the cards being circulated in the F1 buy and sell markets right now is Topps Chrome, Topps Chrome Sapphire, and some Dynasty, and those are just so low on supply that it already feels limited. So all you need is just a little bit more people to come in to lock up the supply and demand curve even more, so if that makes sense. So what I'm telling you is demand is higher than supply right now, and most of that demand is being captured by heavy F1 collectors, especially outside of North America. I would actually say that, and this is another point that I'll mention, is that I actually think overwhelming majority of the collectors of F1 cards are actually outside of the US. And so if you consider all those factors, if demand just goes up by 5-10%, you're going to see this market completely, freeze out, and the prices just continue to go up because there's basically zero elasticity, right? So that's what I really like about F1 sports cards. And third reason why I really like F1 sports cards, especially the Topps Chrome Sapphire and Dynasty line from 2020, is that there's so many young, very high potential drivers in this set, and this really would be considered their rookie year. And so, if you go back to other sports like basketball, football, etc., the first year that a product was produced for that player always holds that significance, that rarity, because it's considered their true rookie card, and so that is definitely given more valuation than, say, their second, third, fifth, 15th year card, right? I mean, barring like superfractors or autos or other conditions of the card, but most of the time rookie cards do hold a lot of weight simply because it's the first year of the player's card. And so what I like about this 2020 top set is that there are so many drivers in this set, like Lando, Max, Russell, Yuki. So I mean, all these players, cards, Albon. It's considered their F1 rookie card, which is amazing because how can you, it's almost like having 7 Zions in one box, in a sense, right? They have such high potential, and if you follow F1, it's a lot of luck, hard work, and just circumstantial in how these drivers perform, especially how the cars are put together necessarily. So it's amazing to kind of play into that scenario where you're essentially opening up boxes, or you're collecting a set where there's just a lot of tremendous value and opportunity in terms of rookie cards. And last but not least, the reason why I really like F1 sports cards and collecting them right now is that it has such a big international presence. So here in North America, I think we're a little bit isolated. You do see big collectors in small pockets of this country, but I'm telling you, majority of the higher end F1 cards, and they've been collecting F1 before the Topps set was released, so they have a lot of vintage collection in their circulation, come from Europe. I see both Western and Eastern Europe sellers and buyers, as well as Asia. Japanese people, Japanese, like if you know anything about Japan, they love cars. I mean, Honda, Toyota, Nissan, name it, right? Honda engine right now, and you being used in F1 with Red Bull. I mean, Japanese just really, really love the sport, the beauty of the car, and the mechanics of the car, perfecting it. So Japan, hands down, one of the biggest markets of F1. South Korea, also a big one. Other parts of Asia, like China, Taiwan. I've seen all kinds of breakers and collectors, actually mostly outside of America. So why I like that is it's refreshing, right? I think a lot of times when I deal with basketball, which is my primary sort of bread and butter, you deal mostly with domestic buyers and sellers, which is cool. It's nothing bad, but I think that fresh breath of air, interacting with international buyers and sellers, talking about different cultures, how they got into the collecting journey, things like that, it's super cool, because in America, baseball cards has always been part of the culture. Well, it did go through like a junk wax era and then all of that, but still it's part of the culture. Whereas in other parts of the world, for example, in Japan, collecting, things is definitely a culture, but maybe not necessarily sports cards, right? They could be collecting Pokemon cards, they could be collecting, bullions, they could be collecting random, samurai swords, they collect all kinds of stuff, but sports cards is definitely not a mainstream thing. So to hear their story of how they got into it, what is driving them to, keep collecting, and some of the challenges that they have being an international buyer or seller, it's really fascinating and refreshing for me, and just being able to expand my network to outside of my comfort zone has been really cool too. So those are the 4 reasons why I really enjoy collecting F1 sports cards right now. And in that word collecting, there's definitely breaking in there too. I've probably been in more breaks than I have ever had for other sports, but it's just, you can't help it. Every box has some kind of a hit, and so it doesn't have to be the big Lewis Hamilton, Max, or Lando, but there's so many other really good pulls that you can get. So I've been really enjoying that. If you have any questions about F1, feel free to DM me on Instagram, and if you haven't done it yet, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
That was awesome.